Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Sold Sign Real Estate Unplugged. We are your favorite hosts and realtors, Lauren
and Naya.
And we are so happy that you're back with us for another week. If it's your first time, welcome. Let's get right into this listener's message.
So this listener says, I've heard the word contingency a ton while house hunting in Catonsville. Inspection contingency, appraisal contingency, financing contingency. It all feels overwhelming. Can you break down what they mean and which ones really protect me as a buyer? That's a great question.
That is a good question. That's a really good question.
Yes. So I get it. Contingencies can be confusing, but they are something that is in place to protect you as a buyer. So I guess the first one, and this would be like the first one generally in the order of contingencies of your contract. So the first one, inspection contingency. With an inspection contingency, so when you make an offer on a house, you would include an inspection contingency for a certain number of days. I was going to say generally, I don't know. They've been ranging, depending on the market that we're in or how competitive it is to get that home. But basically, you're going to choose a period of days to get an inspection done and to negotiate anything that comes back from that inspection report with the seller. Generally, I don't know. I guess I can say an average of 5. I'll say an average of 5 days because it might be like 7 days. It might be 5 days. It might be 10 days, depending too on maybe what inspections that you're getting. So like if you're just getting the standard home inspection, which is like structural, I think 5 days is fine. But if you're adding on a few other things like mold or termite or radon, especially for mold, it can take like 3 days or so for those because they send the test off to a lab. So anyway, because you need to wait for those reports to come back from a lab instead of like having everything right there from the physical inspection that happens, you would add more days for that. So the inspection contingency is that time period that you have to get those inspections done, review the report, and, negotiate with the seller if necessary or ask for any repairs. That's your timeline to get that done. And it allows you within that contingency period to withdraw from the contract, from the home, if you are unsatisfied with the inspection, or if you are making some requests that you and the seller aren't able to agree on and you would prefer to walk away. That protects you. That inspection contingency protects you because you can walk away and pull out of the contract and receive your earnest money deposit back based on the inspection because you were in that covered contingency period. Yeah. So that's the first one. And that, generally happens like you get inspections right after getting under contract. So that's pretty much the first contingency that you're within, I would say. Outside of like earnest money deposit.
Yeah, because how much does would you say like an inspection cost? Now we're talking about like we're in Maryland, so we're talking about this. They were in Catonsville, so how much do you think an inspection costs? And do you get if you decide, hey, I'm going to back out of it, I don't like it anymore, can you get the refund back from your inspection, or is it just the earnest money deposit? And what is this earnest money deposit?
Right. So right before the inspection, you will submit your earnest money deposit on the home. Sometimes you might submit it like as a part of the contract or within like the first 48 or 72 hours of getting the contract accepted. But your earnest money deposit is your like first initial deposit on the home, let's say, but it shows the seller that you're serious. So it's generally about 1% of the purchase price of the home. And so you're depositing that money and showing the seller like, I'm serious. I'm giving you this money with this contract that I intend to proceed forward and buy this home. The earnest money deposit that you submit, though, is generally held by the title office, and it will go towards your cost at closing that you would bring to the table. But so because you can pull out of the contract during the inspection contingency, you would get your earnest money deposit back because you were within that contingency. but you do not get the amount that you paid for your inspection back. So I would say, so the inspection price can range depending on like the square footage of a home, but generally you're probably going to pay, let's just say like $600. Yeah.
Okay.
Like
you don't get that back.
$575.
Okay.
Like, right?
Yeah, yeah.
$525 to $600 depending on the square footage of the home. But yeah, you're not going to get that back.
Yeah, it's an investment.
It
If you want to
is.
know what's going on with the house,
Right. So I guess you would have rather paid, you know, $525 or $575 for an inspection versus, you know, and finding out whatever you needed to about the house, about its true condition, versus maybe purchasing the house and having a whole loan and, you know, not being aware of some of the things. So losing out on $525, I mean, we've all wasted, you know, $100 here, $100 there on something. So, you know, I think that's a smaller price to pay in the grand scheme of things if you decided to withdraw on the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. All right. And then
So
can we talk about the
appraisal. Okay. So after the inspection, generally that is when the lender is going to order the appraisal. And that means that the appraisal you do also pay for, which again is about like $625, I would say, average. Yeah. But you will pay that. The lender will order the appraisal, and an appraiser will come out to the property that you're intending to purchase. When the appraiser comes out, they are looking at the home to assess its value. They're looking at comparable properties that have recently sold that are similar to the home that you are purchasing as well. And so the whole point of this appraisal is to, I don't know, I like to say confirm for the lender that they can provide you the loan for the home according to the purchase price that you've offered. So they're just making sure that the value of the home meets what you know, told the seller you were willing to pay for the home, because the lender cannot loan out money more than what the property is worth. So if the appraiser comes out and you have offered to purchase a home for $350, if the appraiser comes out and says, looked at comparable properties, I've went through this home, and my report comes back as the value of this home being $340,000. So that's a $10,000 difference, but the lender is not going to then loan you a loan amount for $350. They would only loan you $340. So you would either then have to negotiate with your agent on your behalf, would request that the seller drop the purchase price now to $340, because this is what the appraisal, you know, has found, that it is actually only a value of $340. In some cases, the seller may do that, no problem, or the seller may say, no, I don't want to do that. And then in that case, you would have to turn around and fill in that gap of $10,000, because again, the lender is only going to loan you $340,000, and you'd have to make up that other $10,000. So within this appraisal contingency period, you have a certain amount of days to, once you get the report back, negotiate with the seller to see, okay, are we going to agree to bring the price down, or am I just going to walk away because we, you know, can't come to an agreement on this? Yeah. But if the appraisal comes back and it meets value, or if it exceeds value, then we just keep moving along, and there's nothing to negotiate there.
Yeah. Yeah, so, that was spot on. In that time frame, it's like you get like 3 days. Get it back,
yeah.
And then, you know, I usually do like 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, like we get, like if you're working with the buyer, they get 3 days.
Right.
And then the seller will get 2 days and then to respond. And then the buyer again will get 1 day to respond. That way it's like pretty quick. Yep. It's not like 3, 3, 3. So, and if within that time frame, like Naya said, if it doesn't work out, then you can get your earnest money deposit back.
Yep. And then again, you don't get the cost of the appraisal back. But I haven't actually had someone pull out after an appraisal. We've always been able to just meet at the price based on the value. Yeah.
Because by that point, it's kind of like, why? We're so far along. And then, you know, the seller may have to drop the price if they know.
To that anyway, if they were to go back on the market because so.
they know it's going to appraise for.
Right. And then the last one that you asked about is the financing contingency. The financing contingency does protect you if you cannot get funded for your loan. But I want to explain this in simple terms. So as a part of your purchase for the home, you are completing a full, loan application with your lender. And when you submit an offer in a home, you at that point pretty much have your pre-approval. You may have already been pre-qualified with your lender to purchase the home. So sometimes you may have already done your full loan application. Other times you may still have a few things to complete once you get under contract. So when doing your loan application, you're doing this to completion. And by chance, if you don't get approved fully, then within that financial commitment time period, you can withdraw from the contract because you will not be able to fulfill, the requirements to get that loan funded to you. So that's your financial commitment. So, and that number of days can range. Yeah. So depending on your lender, but I've seen 21 days, I've seen 14 days. Yeah. So it varies depending on your lender. But same thing, if you find from completing everything that you would not be able to get funded to have a loan, then you would withdraw from the offer because of the financial commitment and then be able to get your earnest money deposit back as well. But I would also say that is not likely because if you're working with a good lender, you pretty much know where you're at, and most of them work really hard to be sure that you're pre-qualified before, getting surprises once you're under contract already. So those are the contingencies. They are designed to protect you when you are purchasing as a buyer. This was a great question. So I feel like we probably do always say contingency, and you might really not know what that means until you're, in the contract. So
you explained them so well, perfectly.
Anything to add? I know. Sorry, I was on the mic the whole time.
Oh no, I'm thank you. No, I'm just think of contingencies as a buyer as your safety net, right? Don't feel like it's oh, this is going to kill the deal, right? That's not the goal for it. It's just to make sure they continue to protect you as a buyer, making the biggest purchase of your life. So it's good that they're in place. Maryland is really good with buyers. They are buyer heavy and making sure that they're very well taken care of. So use those contingencies to your advantage and don't just make it feel like it's going to kill the deal, because it won't.
Yeah.
So, But thank you guys for joining us for another episode. Naya killed these contingencies. So if you have any questions, reach out to her because she knows them. Make sure you guys follow us. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to share, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys next week.